What's up everyone, welcome to my recap of the anime Peach Boy Riverside. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we'll be covering the anime in the order the story flows and not the order the episodes were released in. So if you decide to watch the anime and things aren't making sense, be sure to check out the description below for the order you can watch the episodes in, so the story actually flows instead of jumping everywhere. That's all from me, now let's get into it. The anime is set in a world where humans are constantly being attacked by monsters called ogres, and to counter this, various human settlements are built behind moats and castle walls to keep the ogres out. Our story begins when Mikoto visits the kingdom Aldarake and meets Princess Sally, who claims to be running from some evil people. However, it is soon revealed that these evil people are in fact the princess's escort who are trying to convince her to return to the castle. Sally soon finds out that Mikoto is a traveler and decides to take him on a tour around her kingdom. Mikoto is surprised at how happy and peaceful the people in this kingdom are and makes a comment that it is the first time he's seen a princess happily walking around without an escort. Later that night, Sally invites Mikoto to the castle for dinner and tells him she thinks the kingdom is boring and that she desperately wants to leave on a journey to experience the outside world. The next morning, Sally barges into Mikoto's room while he's changing and comments on how flat his chest is, to which Mikoto explains that he is actually a guy. Sally becomes flustered as in her eyes it is not fair that despite being a guy, Mikoto looks prettier and is skinnier than her. The two head outside for a walk and Sally asks Mikoto to take her with him on his travels, as she believes if someone as scrawny as Mikoto could survive, then the monsters outside shouldn't be a big deal. However, to her surprise, Mikoto makes it clear that his journey will be full of danger and that if Sally were to come along, there may be situations where Mikoto will be forced to abandon her. Back in the castle, the king is threatened by an ogre named Yaki, who recently destroyed a neighboring kingdom. The ogre tells the king that in exchange for a sacrifice of 30 people per month, he'll refrain from doing the same to his kingdom. On the way out, Yaki recognizes Mikoto and tries to escape before Mikoto notices. However, this fails and Mikoto runs off in pursuit. Sally returns to see the king having a meeting with his council and asks what the problem is. Without giving her an answer, the king announces that he will formally give his permission for Sally to leave the kingdom on a journey she's always wanted to have. Sally is confused by this as the king has always been against her leaving the kingdom. However, before she can ask any more questions, the king turns away to prepare for war. So Sally rushes out to see what's happening when she notices that ogres are approaching the castle gates. Sally gets a weird feeling and decides to go out for a closer look. Outside the castle, Yaki meets up with Moki, who is the leader of a group of ogres, and tells him they need to retreat because Mikoto, who had destroyed Yaki's country, is in the kingdom. But he is too late, as we soon see Mikoto has already caught up. Moki decides to fight Mikoto and soon realizes that even his whole band of ogres are not able to handle Mikoto as he's just too powerful. Sally witnesses Mikoto's attack on the ogres and is deeply disturbed by how much Mikoto seems to be enjoying himself. Despite this, she tries to follow Mikoto but cannot bring herself to do so after seeing what Mikoto is capable of doing. A month later, Sally decides that she'll travel alone and cuts her hair in front of the king to show her determination. The king is impressed and asks Sally where this strength suddenly came from, to which Sally responds saying she can't stand not being able to experience the unknowns outside the kingdom. The king doesn't try to stop Sally this time and asks her to stay safe on her travels, to which Sally happily agrees. Not long after starting her journey, Sally encounters Frau on the ground and seemingly dead. Sally turns to leave but comes back after hearing Frau's growling stomach. The two become fast friends after Sally gives Frau a carrot to fend off her starvation, and it is revealed that Frau is from a demi-human race called the Harefolk. Sally asks if Frau has seen Mikoto, to which she denies. Sally sets off to the nearest village with Frau, who is determined to repay her carrot debt to Sally. However, we soon find out the demi-humans are not welcome in the village as villagers are aggressive to Frau. Sally leaves in a huff and the two of them return later, but this time with Frau hiding her appearance. They soon run into the village head, who is friendly to travelers and offers the two of them dinner and a place to stay for the night. It is then revealed that the village was recently plagued by constant monster attacks. However, this was resolved by a traveler who appears to be Mikoto. Unfortunately, by this stage, he has already left the village, so Sally was unable to meet up with him. The next morning, a giant chicken ogre attacks the town, but is quickly taken down by Frau. However, the villagers are not thankful as they see that Frau is a demi-human and tell them to leave the village. Sally and Frau decide to continue their travels but are soon apprehended by Hawthorne, who is a knight commander of a nearby kingdom and brought to jail. Later that day, Hawthorne comes back to release Sally and Frau and let them know that he had to arrest them because of Frau being a demi-human. However, after seeing Frau defend Sally and the village from the ogre, Hawthorne has decided to change his views and even make friends with Frau. Seeing that Hawthorne appears to be a decent person, Sally decides to guilt trip him into taking the two of them out for lunch. Outside the kingdom, we are introduced to two high ogres, Meki and Set, who are here to destroy the kingdom. Meki's attack with her ogre cannon blows a hole into the kingdom's wall, and we see Meki take the form of a little girl, which she explains is what happens when she is low on power. Set makes an entrance and attacks the kingdom's soldiers until he sees Sally walking towards him in a daze. Frau decides to attack and buy time while Sally escapes, but her attacks are just not strong enough to do any damage, and Frau is quickly overwhelmed. Sally comes back and is suddenly possessed by a strange power that allows her to easily overpower Set. Outside the village, Meki is recovering her powers when Mikoto approaches. Meki soon realizes that Mikoto is the rumored ogre slayer, but is surprised when he chooses to talk while they wait for her powers to recover before they fight. Meanwhile, inside the kingdom, Set's fight is not going well, and he is forced to use his ogre cannon on Sally. The blast blows another hole out of the kingdom's walls, which Meki notices as she begins to fight Mikoto. In an attempt to distract Mikoto, Meki asks whether Mikoto should really be prioritizing her over the safety of the kingdom, to which Mikoto replies that he only cares about slaying ogres and nothing else. Back in the kingdom, we see the ogre cannon had no effect on Sally, and to Frau's surprise, Sally in her possessed state easily dispatches Set before fainting. Outside the kingdom, Mikoto challenges Meki to use her ogre cannon on him, and even injures himself to convince her that he will not try to dodge the blast. Meki obliges and channels all her energy into an ogre cannon, but we see that Mikoto suffers no damage at all. Out of energy, Meki is easily defeated and has her horn cut off. Mikoto's companion, a talking dog, asks him why he didn't kill her, to which Mikoto responds that with her horn cut off and her eye destroyed, she will no longer be able to use her powers properly, and that this would be more painful for her than death. However, the dog bursts Mikoto's bubble and points out that Mikoto did this because he sees his old self in Meki. The dog also reveals that Mikoto is aware that Sally is looking for him and is currently in the kingdom, but Mikoto chooses not to see her and walks away. Sally wakes up later that afternoon and doesn't seem to realize that she was the one who slayed Set. Frau confirms that this is the case, and the two of them become celebrities for defending the kingdom. Hawthorne then leads the two of them into a cell where they are keeping the unconscious Meki, and it is revealed that the kingdom is currently debating on whether to execute Meki. Hawthorne is against this and is requesting Sally and Frau to watch over Meki while he works out what to do. Later, Frau notices Meki is pretending to be unconscious and points this out to Sally. Meki, in her frustration, announces that even though her ogre powers haven't fully recovered, she is still capable of killing the both of them and escaping. However, this doesn't pan out as expected, as Meki displays all the strength of an angry wet noodle. She soon realizes her horn and her eye have been destroyed and explains the situation to Sally. Meki then considers getting herself executed so that she's at least able to die with an ogre's pride. Sally is not impressed by Meki's depressing attitude and decides to break her out of jail. Meki is baffled but reluctantly decides to play along. Hawthorne is quickly informed and is surprised that Sally is the one leading the escape with Meki in tow. He tries to stop the party at the kingdom's gates, but Frau breaks through easily. Hawthorne turns around to retrieve his horse and give chase, only to see his entire kingdom is blown away by an ogre cannon. And with that, we've covered the first 3 parts of the anime. Thank you for watching until the end, and have a great day.